19 people believed to have incited last year's unrest have been identified. This was revealed in a security cluster media briefing today. The riots cost South Africa's economy over 70 billion rand and claimed the lives of over 300 people. Defence Minister Thandi Modise has described it as the most violent civil unrest in democratic South Africa. But many questions still remain around law enforcement's response or lack thereof. eNCA's Heidi Giokos attended that briefing and joins me now with details. Heidi, so can you tell us how many people have been arrested and what arrests are still looming?
Yes, Annelie, I think there's a lot of uncertainty with regards to what is actually being done to address the July unrest last year. This weekend marks exactly a year since it happened, and over 350 people sadly lost their lives. But also, what's even more worrying is how much our economy lost, how many businesses were completely looted out and destroyed and have been unable to pick themselves up again after that unrest. But it seems as though government is confident that they have the right people and they believe that they are still able to investigate further. We do know that there are about 19 people that have been arrested with regards to being the actual instigators of the July.
19 people arrested?
Yes, 19 people. We will hear the police minister elaborating more, because there's a number of 19, there's also a number of 8. So it's all very confusing with regards to how many people are actually behind all of this. We know 5,000 people were initially arrested, but that has to do with the fact that they were caught with looted goods and they were unable to account where they got the goods from when they were found in possession of that. But the main issue here is who was behind it, who instigated it. And it's very difficult for government because a lot of it was done on social media. And a lot of it is you have a keyboard warrior and you don't know who's behind that keyboard warrior. So government says they're in the process of trying to arrest more people, and they are still investigating. But for more clarity on the numbers, let's listen to Police Minister.
The DPCI is putting eye on 86 more people. On this matter, but there are 19 that will be regarded as instigators. 8 are arrested by DPCI, which are hawks, and 11 are arrested by the detective team that was put together there. So there are 19, they remain as 19. 2 of them cases have been withdrawn, and almost all of them, they are on bail. Once you are on bail, which means there is a case to answer. That is going, I hear Tula Sizo saying could be fast and all that. I think for the fact that they are on bail, the fact that they are in court, that means the thing is progressing. 19, 8 of them is DPCI, special detective team that was created dealing with these matters, 11 of those. 2 of them cases withdrawn. Almost rest of them, they are on bail, which means they have a case to answer.
Heidi, following the July unrest, as that sort of cooling down period of shock in South Africa at what had taken place sort of mellowed, there were a lot of people who were very vocal about knowing who these instigators were. A lot of them were pointed out in social media as having been, primary instigators to the July unrest. So 19 people arrested. Do we know who they are?
Well, what's interesting, I unfortunately can't remember every single person, but the police minister did reply to this in Parliament. If I'm not mistaken, Annelie, it was actually last year sometime where the police minister responded to the question about who these people actually are. And that whole list of 19 people was given to Parliament, so it is made available. And what's also interesting is, though, it also includes government officials and councillors. This was a question that was posed to say, was this an inside job? Was this something that those that knew the ins and outs of our security system, of state security, was that breached at all? And that seems to have come out to say that definitely there were government officials involved. But I think the big question here also, Annelie, is that the true mastermind I don't think has been found or identified. And I did try and ask, are there more people still out there that you think have not been arrested or investigated? But according to the police, they are still investigating.
So given that you've just said that there are people within the government who have been named on that list of 19 people, and that there are serious questions about leaked information and it being an inside job, what's the likelihood of this happening again? If it happened with such ease and, from people who had all the right tools at their disposal to use the system against itself?
I pray that does not happen again. I don't want to lose more of my hair. I think it was such a stressful time for everybody. I've never in my life seen something like that, and I think if that would ever happen again, it would be completely detrimental and destructive to this country. But government feels as though they have their finger on the pulse and they are monitoring every single situation very closely. I think what's a little bit concerning is the fact that we are seeing some kind of unrest in Mpumalanga where you had trucks blocking off roads, and these are early signs. This is exactly what we saw last year as well, and this is what we asked government today, the security cluster, to say, what are you doing about the early signs? About 2-3 weeks ago, I remember I covered a story where there was also a possible national shutdown, but luckily nothing came out of that. However, government needs to watch and monitor every single situation or sign or any kind of unrest. What's interesting is, according to Defence Minister Thandi Modise, they are working together very closely with communities, with CPFs. They've deployed more people on the ground, and they're watching national routes to make sure that should anything look unusual, they are able to react immediately, because there was much criticism that the police just did not have the enough capacity or react quick enough. So let's listen to Defence Minister on that.
An additional budget has been allocated for this purpose, with a specific focus on those CPF structures that still need support. You will remember that the last time we had a briefing here, we spoke about 10,000 new recruits for the police. Now, in December, these recruits will be deployed to the various police stations to bolster the existing SEPS capacity. In responding effectively to public unrest, the capacitation of public order policing has been prioritized. As a result, public order policing will receive an additional 4,000 members during this financial year.
Heidi, there was also a lot of criticism levelled against the police, not only for their reaction time, but for the readiness of officers to deal with this kind of a situation, their training, their experience, their leadership. Whether they had the right kind of tools to do this kind of job. I mean, facing looters is very different from street patrols and basic police work. So did any information come out in this briefing about changes to training protocols over the past year?
Not necessarily, Annelie, and I think police feel as though they are able to attend to any situation. However, given the magnitude of what we saw last year was the actual problem. So it wasn't necessarily because people were looting, it was more because there were thousands of people at one place at one time and almost everywhere. So it was very difficult for police to get themselves everywhere and spread out evenly, and this is why the army was also brought in. But that's definitely an indictment on the police, I would say, and it's something that they would have to watch and monitor very closely, because they had no control over the situation. And, the questions that were posed to the police minister today was, who should be held accountable? Because we have a new defence minister. The defence minister that was in position during the July Unrest is no more. She's now become the Speaker of Parliament. And you don't have the same police commissioner. So who should we actually be asking these questions to? The only person that's left is the police minister, Bheki Cele. But it just seems as though the situation is far bigger than they can handle, and they believe that because of what happened, they were able to learn from it, and they have planned better, and should it happen again, they'll be able to react faster and better.
Great, thanks very much for that update, Heidi.